Hello, everyone. It is March. This is the Key Ministry Idea Share. My name is Beth. I'm joined by my colleague, Catherine Boyle, who's our Director for Mental Health Ministry. And Idea Share is just our monthly check-in with all of our fellow ministry leaders. Just a chance to see how we're doing, encourage each other, ask questions, brainstorm ideas. So who would like to start? Anyone? Yes, Allison.
I had to actually genuinely think this, that we are post Night to Shine, but since our last
Right. Oh, that's true. Wow, you're right.
too many things have still happened
Too
since.
many things.
So I was going to check in and see how everybody's who hosted Night to Shine or had kids go to it, just how it went. Ours was yet again just a wonderful night, a huge success, new families, and just what was interesting, one of the two highlights, one was just that a parent with no experience at all of anything like this at all, new to the area, her daughter had been invited by two of her friends that she's got to know in the area, and she was just blown away by the extravagance of the event for special needs. She was like, I've never seen anything where special needs are given that level of care, attention, detail. She was just blown away. And then another one was a mom of actually somebody in my special needs community who was new to the area, had heard about Night Shine before, but her daughter's not old enough yet. So she came to volunteer. And she just said at the end, when everybody's dancing in the worship center, she was like, I experienced God like I've just never experienced God for just so many years, and just his presence. And it was like, oh my goodness, this is why we do it.
Yeah. So, I love it. I hope you shared those stories with the Tim Tebow Foundation, because that's what.
So I can't remember what got shared where at this point.
Right. Oh, I hear you. Thank you for sharing, Allison. Let me see a show of hands or icons or however you want to do it. But how many of you hosted or attended a Night to Shine on February 10th? So maybe a third of us, half of us. So yeah, it was a huge night for us here as well. I was actually just in a meeting where I was telling somebody we had a lot of high school volunteers, and this was their first, for many of them, this was their first time doing any kind of event like this. And I had this young man come up to me, I didn't know him, but he was from a local high school and he had volunteered, and he came up to me afterwards and he said, I just want to tell you, this was the most fun I've had in forever. And this was a cool guy high school volunteer. And I thought, this experience of serving was transforming for him. So the meeting I just came from, I'm pitching a couple other events that would bring in volunteers like this kid so they can continue to have those kinds of experiences. Would anybody else like to share about Night to Shine? I can tell you that the official wrap-up video, or whatever you want to call it, I don't know, whatever you call it, came out yesterday from the Tim Tebow Foundation. So you'll see that on social media. I know my church will be posting ours later today. So exciting. It was so fun to see everybody's pictures. Anybody else want to share about Night to Shine? Okay. Well, what else? What else is going on, people?
Well, howdy from Chicago. Hi. Yeah, and I'm excited. I was actually just chatting with the Meekins before we got started that we'll be looking forward to seeing a lot of our friends in Atlanta this weekend at the Together Conference hosted by the Palmettos down there, and Together We Care. So excited to see again Key Ministry folks, Johnny and Friends folks, other folks. It'll be interesting for me because it'll be the first conference where I kind of have a dual personality. So I'll be doing presentations as me. But we have a Johnny and Friends office down in Atlanta now, so the free table that I got gifted, I'm actually going to gift to them. So we'll have a Johnny and Friends presence there with our local folks down in that area, and then otherwise I'll be doing other things. So hopefully run into some of you, more of you. I don't know that they live stream anything for this one, but it still looks like it's going to be an amazing event, and it seems like something that's really growing. So just excited to yeah, be out there.
Yes. Yeah, we're excited to be there. Can't wait to see people in person. It's exciting to have some of these things back in person. Sylvia, what's up?
Well, we're not coming to the conference, and we didn't do Night to Shine. This year, we had done Night to Shine for 5 years. And this year, we decided that we were not doing Night to Shine, but we are doing another event for just step out on faith and present an event that more closely aligns with the goals and objectives that we have for our church and our ministry, where we are purposing to evangelize and develop dynamic disciples, and where they can assist in guiding some of the plans, that these are activities that are planned with them and not just for them. So we're excited about it. We are actually even, I will be doing a radio interview tonight about our Evening of Elegance. Now, no radio contacted us when we were doing Night to Shine, but I received a phone call, and we'll be on an interview tonight, for a 20-minute interview about our event, and we are very excited about it.
That is awesome. Yes, I agree with Bronwyn in the chat that Sylvia on the radio is going to be awesome. So I accidentally kicked my internet connection. Like, I actually kicked the cord out of my computer, so I dropped off for a second, but I think I got most of it. So this is really exciting. And Sylvia, I'd like to hear more about, because something that's really kind of been on my heart lately is how we are, how individuals and families impacted by disability are moving through the discipleship process, like at our churches. And did I catch that that's kind of part of what the focus is?
Well, part of the focus is, and the whole focus of our church ministry now is to do more evangelism and discipleship, so that everybody is called to evangelism ministry. And we want our individuals and our families to also be a part of that component of the ministry, and to just make sure that that's where we're all moving to. In this day and age, we need to make sure that everybody has a full understanding of, and every month for the last 3 months, probably even until I have another individual in April, we've had at least one individual with a disability, from a mild to a significant disability, where they did not have language, to come forward to express the desire to have a relationship with Christ and to follow it up with baptism. So I'm walking through the parents with our new members class, being there for the families, even if we have to use PCS cards during the time of when they're getting baptized. We have to ask them some questions and stuff, and some of them are not able to verbally explain So we use the PCS cards to help them to express what it is that they want to say. So that's our main focus. And our primary thing this year was to reimagine a lot of the things that we're doing. And this is just one component. Coming out of COVID, we've had so many more adults participating in the ministry. So, and a lot of the individuals that we started the ministry with are now grown. So we were in the beginning, it was always, we were focusing on the children, and then we focused on children and youth and young adults. And now we're focusing on children, youth and young adults and adults.
It's funny how that happens, right?
It's funny how that happens.
Kids grow up.
But planning and implementing programs that embrace them and fit them into the culture of the church is a constant challenge, but an exciting challenge in getting the families to be active participants in there. So it's just an exciting season, and my computer glitches every now and then. So
a little max headroom there, but nobody remembers.
Yeah. So that's where we are, and that's what we're doing.
That's exciting. Wow. So I want to throw in an old hashtag because I know some of you on here will remember it, but like that's a pandemic blessing, I think, that you poured into like the people that you had at the time so much during, your church was shut down. I know not everybody knows this, but Sylvia's church was closed. Like the building was not open until January 2022 or something like that. It was a long time.
January, February. I don't even remember anymore.
Yeah, like way longer than many of our churches. And she figured out how to continue to engage and develop relationships, and the ministry has grown. So yay, we're big Sylvia fans around here. Thank you for sharing. And I hope we get to hear the radio broadcast. So, want to share it. Bronwyn, what's up out there in Cali?
Yeah. First of all, I think it's awesome. Sylvia's gonna be on the radio. I think it's her first step to becoming the president, as we all hope she will be someday.
Right.
So it's first step. I love it. I love what you said, Sylvia, about like pouring into people intentionally. And I think over here at my church, I think we're trying to do that in the way of for a couple of years, I've had some volunteer interns, mostly college students and actually a lot of high school students that will come alongside for a year or a semester and partner with our families and support kids in Sunday school and respite and all these things. And it's been pretty successful. Like the students have really loved it. And so our junior high youth director said, hey, I think I'm going to do some of that for junior high specific. And then we said, hey, let's do that for summer camp coming up. And so now we're like, got this ginormous like intern web. And I'm trying to figure out like how to manage it all like in the different spaces. But it's kind of a fun problem to have. And I think the point is like people are saying, hey, like we really need inclusion and inclusive practices like across the board. And we're doing it in a way that's like, okay, we're going to do it within the context, like the framework that we have, if that makes sense. Because like we can't just give you like unending hours to work, which is true. I would take them, but that's true, right? And so it's fun to have people come alongside like the youth pastor, the youth director, and say, hey, like let's do this, and to figure out what it looks like in summer camp. We're trying to think about kind of how to reimagine summer camp as an inclusive camp. In the past, it's been like a lot of, okay, we're gonna have buddies assigned to individual kids. But I think what that's done in some way, in some spaces, has been like, okay, people think, okay, well, that person is in charge of that kid. And so what we're trying to say is, no, inclusion is actually everyone's responsibility. So how do we structure it that when you sign up to be a small group leader, assistant small group leader, you also are built in to that support system? And how do we do that? There are a few kids who definitely need 1-to-1, some need 2-to-1. Last year we had a 3-to-1, which was fine. But which was fine. So we're trying to think, how do we do that to have the actual culture of the camp, like the ethos of the camp, be more inclusive in that way. So and I think the internship was going to help that. So we're going to try to see what happens.
Yeah, I love that. So So a couple things. So, what I'm hearing, like, this is not a silo ministry, which does make it more challenging in some respects as you're trying to, work across all these different lines. But yeah, like the whole, idea of inclusion is this is not like the job of the person who is running the disability ministry or whatever it is. And how can we just kind of build that into how we do everything? You said reimagine. Sylvia, I think, said reimagine. I'm loving that word. That just, I don't know. I wrote it down. Reimagine. I feel like we were very creative during COVID. I mean, this group was extremely creative during COVID and kept each other going in our ministries and just like personally. And I feel like things are kind of, starting up again, starting new, but I feel like we're kind of going to another level now. Like we're really thinking through not just like getting by, but like how can we reach more people with the gospel? I don't know. Like what is oh good. Sylvia shared that. I'll read that in the chat. I don't know. Does anybody else having that feeling like there's more, like I don't know. Maybe it's because we're getting ready to have this conference and I'm seeing these faces that are going to be there and knowing what everybody's talking about is going to be so exciting. John, did you have something?
Yeah, I just wanted to comment based on Bronwyn and Sylvia's in terms of what they just said. What rung a bell for me, and actually speaking of conferences, is the name that popped in my head is Eric Carter, who's going to be at Disability in the Church in April. But he actually just presented. He was our keynote at the Johnny and Friends Global Access Conference we did virtually last week. And yeah, so if you saw it, and it's the first time I had seen Eric speak, and I will tell you that I think he does a wonderful job. If you really want to wrap your head around this idea, because I think what we're trying to get to here is this isn't a conversation anymore about inclusion. This is a conversation about belonging. And belonging is where, really we're not even identifying, like forget about siloing. We're way past that. This is about everyone being included on just the DNA level of the church community. And I thought Eric did a great job presenting that concept. And so if you go back, you can actually access, if you go on the website for the Johnny and Friends Global Access Conference, you can see that particular presentation. But, I think he's all over YouTube anyway, whatever you can catch him. But he does a great job of really, again, breaking that concept down, because I know that I've seen at other churches that we've worked with where, for example, there's a disability ministry that is really vibrant. But one of the things that they intentionally are doing now is they're saying, you know what, we used to have these, or they do have these t-shirts, with the name of their ministry on it. And you can identify those folks and the folks that belong to that ministry. And they said, you know what, we're going to start getting rid of them, because this isn't so much about them being in that ministry. This is just about them being in the church. And we are on staff and we support, our Sunday school environments and classrooms like anyone, like any child, any young adult, whatever. So I think that's really the next level argument here. And so I think what Bronwyn and Sylvia were speaking to was kind of exactly that we're getting inclusion. I mean, there are still places where there's nothing. But now that next level conversation will be the belonging piece. So, and that's where Eric just stuck in my head with that. So
yeah. And if you do have a chance to see Eric's presentation, it was fantastic. So a couple things in the comments. So Catherine shared disability ministry leveled up because of, the Rona. And Bronwyn says they don't even have a name for their inclusion ministry for that reason. We just call it inclusion and or disability. Yes. And Sylvia shared, that Maryland 94.3 Tacoma Radio at 6:02 p.m., that's this evening, streamlined at tacomaradio.org, and click on Open Your Eyes. So it's TAKOMARADIO.org, Open Your Eyes. Awesome. All right, Thomas, welcome. And yeah, you're coming to the conference.
Yeah, thanks. Hi, I just wanted to say hello, and this is my first time on one of these Zoom calls, so I recognize some names and faces, and am looking forward to meeting you, Beth, at the conference, and probably many of you as well. But I thought I might there's a lot of things that are stirring in my mind and heart in these conversations. But the question about the name of a ministry, I thought I might share this, that I'm involved. One of the things I'm involved with is a church, actually one that I go to, and I've been in the process of helping support them develop a disability ministry over the last number of years. And they recently just came up with a name, and I was so proud of what they came up with. And it really, as we're trying to get across this principle of, not a siloed, segregated ministry, but one where there's a saturation of focus and prioritization and inclusion and belonging, et cetera. And what they came up with was, I thought was beautiful. They came up with the name Thrive. Thrive. And they've got a mission statement and values and whatever. And it's just a very clear vision for 3 levels of Thrive: committed to the thriving of individuals impacted by disability, the thriving of the family of those impacted by disability, and then lastly, and most kind of comprehensively, the thriving of the church, the thriving of the body of believers when it's disabled, when not all of its members are present, kind of a thing. And to just encapsulate all of that in such a positive vision for discipleship and well-being in light of a primary relationship with the Lord, I thought was just really, really savvy and elegant and rhetorically accessible and compelling, and was really excited. So that's starting to gain some steam. And so I don't know what the larger national dialogue looks like in terms of trends, but I certainly, John, I think your note about the shift from inclusion to belonging, I think the naming of the ministry to help get at that comprehensive saturation dynamic is also key. And so I thought I'd share that.
Yeah. And John just shared in the chat that Thrive is the name for his home church's disability ministry as well.
Really?
Yeah. So Thomas, would you be willing to share? So you and Dr. Eric Carter are co-presenting a workshop at Disability in the Church. Can you just tell us I don't remember it off the top of my head, but could you tell us the title? We'll give you a little plug for your workshop at the conference.
Yeah, it's I forget the exact title. It's something like two innovative strategies to promote disability ministry, to accelerate, 2 innovative strategies to promote, to accelerate disability ministry. And we're each going to be sharing out of some of the wellspring of what we've been doing to try to help support congregations in moving the needle on disability ministry. And Eric's going to be sharing out of the wealth of his experiences with community conversations. So community conversations allow you the ability to bring in multiple stakeholders and have a structured dialogue to try to move the needle. And so some of the things that I've been doing do the same thing, but in a different way. And I call them convocations. And it's a way to bring together ministry leaders and families impacted by disability for a structured dialogue over about a half day or full day. And which includes worship and testimony and structured conversations that have some essential elements, but also some great nimbleness for individualizing the conversation around particular needs for that community. So we're just going to both be sharing those strategies in a way to try to help accelerate disability ministry.
Awesome. All right. So there's a little plug for during breakout block number 2, people. All right. Thank you for sharing. Who else? Meekins, you're just sitting there like I haven't heard from you at all. I need to hear from you.
We just had our daughter get married on Saturday, so we're kind of like zombies.
Yes, I would say so. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. It was beautiful. Everything about it was beautiful. So we have four grandchildren, and they were in the wedding, and that just made lots of entertainment because they range in age from 1 to 7. So it was quite fun for that, of course. But yeah, so we are just excited about the conferences coming up. So we're going to Together in Atlanta. So leaving Thursday for that. And then, of course, the Disability in the Church. And then there have been 2 online ones that we're taking advantage of slowly because we had a wedding. The one Access
All access.
All access, thank
Great
you.
content on All Access.
Great content. We've only done one so far, and we just loved every minute of it with Dr. Holshaw.
How's yeah.
However you say his last name. And then, of course, I think it was what was that other conference? Oh gosh, I can't think of the name of it right now. It has the word inclusion in it, faith inclusion, something like that. But there is another online one that you could sign up for. So we're happy to be very saturated this, winter into spring, and then just get our feet on the ground and run with all this stuff. And really, hopefully, one of our goals this year is to partner with more churches. Locally, both locally and outside our local area in Lynchburg, Virginia. And just because we all know, everybody on this call knows how much work still needs to be done, and how much of what we've all been talking about, getting that information out there and helping people understand this is the pulse. It's about a pulse. It's not about doing extra. It's really about doing, including people with disability is not extra. And I think so many people think that it is. I love what Bronwyn said about in some cases, there might be 3 volunteers on one person who needs that.
And that's okay.
And it's okay. I love you saying that, Bronwyn. And then it was great because, it just helps you to understand that it's not about it's too hard. It's about how can we make it work. And that just gives me such a fever, as y'all know, because I do that. Just a fever for moving ministry forward. So thank you. I wasn't planning on talking today because I'm really kind of like this, but it's just so exciting to be with you all and to have these calls and to have the opportunity to kind of hobnob together. And it started for us during COVID, having this community, and it's just grown into something, exponential. So thank y'all.
One of my favorite things is when Julie gets excited about something and shares it with all of us. So I'm looking forward to many, many more of those conversations as you have time to take in all this, all these great resources that you're connected with. So
very cool. And one more thing, I just thought about this. Remember the lady, some of you might remember this, the lady who is in Pennsylvania, who was a mom feeling very alone in raising her son. She has other children too, and they're older than the son. And she was feeling very lonely. And so she found our website, Champions for Parents, some kind of way, by God, of course. And she just sent an email and just said, I need help. I need to talk to somebody. So we did a Zoom call together. This lady now has started a parent support group. And not only that, but she's now got a collaboration going with starting a school that includes, in a big way, a Christian school that children in a big way have disabilities, because our kids often are not invited into those environments. So she is on fire. This girl's on fire. And how cool is it? Because, okay, so here's that ripple effect that happens. You all feed us, and then we can feed others, and they can feed others, and it goes on and on and on. And so I just had to share that because it just popped in my head. And how exciting is that? Thank you.
So cool. See, you're energized now.
Not really.
That's so cool. Only God. I mean, that's such a cool story. Thank you for sharing. Patrick, so glad to see you. What's up? What's up in your neck of the woods?
Yes, thank you. Patty Collinsborough in Rochester, New York. I was thinking about the Faith Inclusion Network Conference, the Community for All, of which I'm on the board of the Faith Inclusion Network. So the virtual conference is happening from now until March 31st. Videos can be accessed. Sign up on the website, Faith Inclusion Network .org, and also on Friday there is a virtual a day-long a series of virtual events from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. that can also be accessed, but opportunities for actual conversation happening. I can put that in the chat as well.
Well, and then we'll share that link on the website when we post this recording. Thank you.
Excellent. Yeah. I'm also thinking about actually in my role as a priest in the Episcopal Church, I also I'm a person who lives with cerebral palsy. So I've had an opportunity, and I've shared about my experience of being a priest with cerebral palsy in the Episcopal Church, and my experiences as part of with the National Church, and that's been included in the series of videos for both clergy and lay people from around the country to watch. So that's been a great opportunity as well.
Fantastic. Oh, I'm so glad to hear that.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Anybody else have a question, need encouragement, want to report in? I'll give a little plug for some upcoming events, and I won't put anybody on the spot, but the third Wednesday, as you know, the third Wednesday of each month, we do a disability ministry video roundtable, and we have a chosen topic each time. And so this I didn't look it up. Wednesday the something, I don't know. Somebody will, Catherine will bail me out, or Jennifer will. So what is it?
It's Wednesday the 15th.
Thank you. And Jennifer will be on it. So we are having a discussion on service dogs versus therapy dogs versus emotional support dogs. This may or may not have come up in your church. And so we're just going to educate ourselves. Jennifer is going to join us, and she has experience. It's a Wednesday at noon Eastern time. So it's the same time of day as this one. If you go to keyministry.org/events, you can sign up. And just like our idea share, once you get signed up once, you're going to get the email every month to join us. It's the same link every month. And thank you, Catherine put the link to our events page in there. But I think it's going to be a great discussion. And I hope that people who utilize those, the different categories will join us and share their experience. So Ryan, what is up?
I came in late, so I didn't know where things were going. So apologies for that. But
that's okay. I got bumped off the internet for a while, so I probably missed it.
But Julie, you were talking about them starting the school, and it made me want to ask a question, because I've had the opportunity recently to go and talk at a lot of different private Christian schools in Southern California. Especially in March, I've got a whole bunch lined up because it's disability awareness, and they all want to talk about disability in the school and have, I'm sure, like what Johnny and Friends does, but it's hard for them to include kids that require supports that you normally get from special education, and there are just financial and like staffing constraints that prevent what they're able to do. Does anybody know of a school that does it really well, or have strategies for what to do? Because one of the conversations I was having was with an admissions director at a high school, and he was saying, we try our best if they want to come to school to provide them, but he's like, but sometimes I don't know when it would be better for me to recommend them to actually go to a public school to get the services that their kid needs. And I'm totally in the dark on those things. So All Belong docs.
Yeah, I'm cracking up because I'm thinking, we need to tell them about All Belong, and then in the chat, everybody's going, All Belong, Victoria White. Yes, definitely connect with Victoria for sure.
Okay, because they run a school, right? That's where like
I believe they consult with Christian schools.
They run a school and consult with schools, both.
Awesome. That's perfect. I'll just email Tori then.
Yeah.
And Ryan, you might,
Yeah.
Ryan, you might already know this, but you know, putting the old teacher hat on. So legally, any private school, regardless of whether it's faith-based or not, if you have a child with a disability that at the very least has an IEP or has something from a doctor or a therapist, legally that public school district has to provide services. Now, I don't know what it looks like everywhere across the country in different, you know, different states, different districts, et cetera, but that should be across the board, that whatever is the local school district neighborhood school, they should be providing supports, teachers, therapists, whatever they have available to that student, whether that means that student is actually bused to that public school or whether those therapists or teachers actually come to the private school. And I've taught at both public and private schools where that was the case. So so that and the administration should be aware of that. Like I don't think that's any big secret, but you know, just a general piece of awareness there.
I don't know one way or the other, but it's
Okay.
it is something I would assume that they would be aware of those sorts of things, because they've done stuff like I know they have a sign language interpreter that they bring into the school, but there's other things where they seem to think they can't provide those supports, and they're torn because on the one hand they really want the student to be there, on the other hand they're like, we want to counsel the parents on what's best for their child. So yeah, Lisa, I'd love to hear about your experience.
Yeah, so just for the benefit of those that are watching this later, there's some things in the chat. Before I read them though, Bronwyn, is your question or your statement related to this?
Oh yeah, but you can read the chat first. Go for it.
Sure. You won't forget it? See, I would forget.
No, I won't forget.
All right, I'll read the chat first. Okay, so Lisa shared that her daughter is a student with more significant special needs who was fully included in a Christian school. They used a combination of solutions to make that work, and she's happy to share. So Ryan and Lisa, you guys can get connected. And then Patty shared faith inclusion. Oh, this is about the conference, so I'll come back to that. Bronwyn, if you could share about this, and then I'll go back and read the.
Sure. Yeah, to the school part. So here at church, we have an on-site inclusive preschool, which I also work at fairly frequently. And so we've done, I say we, but someone else did this and now I'm here. We raise funds. We fundraise specifically for inclusion aids that are in the classrooms with the kids. So last year we had 5 inclusion aids in all of our classes in preschool. We have about 80 students. This year I think we have like 2.5 inclusion aids or something like that. But they've been doing that here for the last, like, I don't know, 18, 19 years. And my kids have benefited from it as well. And it's been, I mean, we're at the preschool level, so it's a little bit different. It's been really beneficial. We work with the school district, the early intervention specialists at the school district, with the regional center, when they come in and observe and all those things. It's been a pretty neat process for the community to have access to something like this. Happy to talk more if you want. I know K-12 is kind of its own different thing. I was there as well, but that's what we're doing here, and it's been pretty successful.
All right, so you got some good resources here.
How much of this, sorry, I don't want to dominate all the questions, but people who are or have been in different school districts, how much of this is a district level thing? How much of it is a state level thing? Is there anything that's a national level thing? Because I'm just, you know, I've got people from Ventura County, LA County, San Bernardino County in Southern California, and they all seem like they're a little different in how the school districts handle it, but are there state level resources?
Yeah, I'd say yes to all your questions. Like, yes, there are some of those like things that go across the board, but I would say they're implemented really differently. They can be really implemented really differently in different spots, even within your own state. Like I'm in NorCal, and even through the different districts I've been in, they've been different. So
yeah, and Lisa's sharing in the chat that it depends on the state/local area and how they choose to implement federal law. So
And that's really where you want to have a good relationship with whatever that neighborhood school or school district is, because then they're the ones who are kind of the gatekeepers of those resources. So.
Totally. It's helpfully unhelpful to know that it's just such a
Sorry,
local issue.
Yeah.
It is a federal law that school districts have to provide what each student needs. So that is a federal law. But what everybody's saying is so right, that it gets implemented very differently in different places.
Thank you, Pam. It's there you go. Yeah.
It's probably also just worth mentioning that I think, you know, the requirements, the federal mandates on a private Christian school are going to be different, or at least in terms of what a family can access will be different. So it is kind of a scaled down set of resources. So typically a Christian school have an ISP, you know, individual service plan, rather than an IEP. And the school is required to do an evaluation and basically serve up what the child needs and what it would entail. But that would be at that school, at the public school placement. When that plan is rejected, the child is still entitled to some supports, but not all of them that it would be if they accepted the full program. So how that kind of full profile of needs support in the public school translates into the private school, there's a high degree of variability based on a variety of things. And I'm not a legal expert, but I've helped families connect with legal experts on this issue. And so the evaluation is one thing they can get in the public school. Oftentimes there's a federal bit of money that is tagged for this kind of support, and principals kind of, you know, in the public school dole that out. And it's oftentimes speech therapy is, you know, kind of the easiest thing to get. And it's so a lot of times the family has to provide transportation to the public school to get it, and all those kinds of hurdles. So the main point I just wanted to make is that there are funds, but it tends to be a scaled down requirement from what they would be offered if they did accept the full support program in a public school.
Yeah, but even if they're not enrolled in the school district where they're receiving those services.
Yeah, because that's wherever that private school is geographically, whatever those geographic boundaries are, that public school, neighborhood school and district still has to serve that. But to also jump on Thomas's point too, the key here is that in private school, sometimes you run into this phenomenon of, let's say Johnny is struggling in class and, you know, is having trouble focusing or whatever. And the teachers or the parents might say, you know, Johnny could really use some extra resources into school. That's different than actually Johnny having a firm diagnosis on paper from a specialist and then being able to go to that school and saying here, because again, to Thomas's point, sometimes even with that, it may, you know, the public school is also going to, they're going to weigh that differently than, let's say, you know, wherever they got that information from, or even what the private school interprets it as. So.
All right. Does that
That's
give you
all really
food,
helpful. Thank you,
food
guys.
for thought, Ryan?
Definitely. And it's encouraging to know that there are these options to pursue that maybe they're not aware of, because the schools really are coming with that perspective of we really want to help, but we don't really know how. So this is all good starting. I wish Tori was on, but I will reach out to her.
Yeah, and Lisa's sharing more in the comments that Emily got services through the public education system when she was in private school, and Lisa did special ed advocacy for 15 years and learned the ways around the system. So we definitely want to get connected with her. I want to go back in the chat because Patty shared about the conference that he mentioned. So Faith Inclusion Network Virtual Community for All Conference. Sign up at faithinclusionnetwork.org. Conference videos can be accessed until March 31st. Also, day-long virtual presentations and live conversations are happening this Friday, March 10th from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. So, and again, we'll include that link on when we post this video. All right, this is good stuff today, people. That was worth the price of admission. Anybody else have anything to share? Jennifer, hey, welcome.
I just wanted to say hello. It's my first time here. I'm excited to meet all of you. I have just recently started my own ministry it's not church-based. It has two arms. One is educating about the disability experience from a foundation of a theology of disability. And that I've just been doing on my own for years, and I'm desperate to find somebody else who's like working in this realm, bounce ideas off of and stuff. I'm a former biblical counselor, and so I'm really looking at how when you have biblical counsel, pastoral care, or just generally preaching the gospel, and you don't have a foundation of a theology of disability, how that can harm people with disabilities. It can this term is kind of overused, but I'm finding that it does translate to spiritual abuse. And so I'm really looking into that, looking to see how I can help educate and really share how when we're using biblical principles and we don't have an eye on disability, how you're kind of, it's sort of like a prosperity gospel effect. You're kind of asking us to do something that we're just not capable of doing for whatever reason, however that applies to a disability. So that's one arm. And the second arm is called Disabled Christian Voices, and it seeks to elevate the kingdom work, spiritual gifts of people with disabilities, and really highlight that people with disabilities can serve the church and should be serving the church just as much as the church should be serving us. And so, yeah, I'm new in this realm, and I know it's different. We're currently not part of a church, unfortunately. But so, yeah, I feel like I'm kind of on an island of my own. I'm really trying to connect with people and make connections, because I know this is not a work you can do on your own. And when you're talking with people who don't understand disability, I heard this really great analogy where I don't know if you've ever been in an art class, but sometimes in art class you turn the picture that you're trying to copy upside down, because when you have it right side up, your brain fills in the blanks, and it's harder to draw the actual thing you're trying to copy. Well, in the same way, if you're trying to explain the disability experience to people who don't have firsthand experience, they can often fill in the blanks, like, oh, I understand pain. Oh, I understand what it means to not belong. But you're kind of filling in blanks from a perspective that's different. And so it's harder to really explain like the experience and what it feels like and where we're coming from. Yeah. So
we're very glad. So Jennifer and I had a really great conversation a couple weeks ago. So I really enjoy getting to know her, and I'm glad you're here. And we do this the first Monday of every month. And people are reaching out in the chat to welcome you and offer to connect with you. So thank you for being here. Doc, and then Julie.
Yeah. So first, Jennifer, welcome. Great to see you, and I'd love to connect with you sometime. I just want to share with the group one of the things I'm seeing this year that I'm super excited about, and it comes with the church as a whole. I'm seeing a bigger passion and desire to start welcoming families with disabilities, more so than in previous years. I've actually been gone every single weekend this entire year in 2023 at different churches across the country, training them how to welcome families with disabilities. And that's a first. I've already been gone as much as I was last year, this year. So seeing a huge shift with churches and them seeing the willingness to get behind that and the need is just a huge praise, and see that we still have a long ways to go. But it's been real encouraging to see, and I know all of you here get it and you're doing it every day, but it's exciting to see new churches stepping on and seeing the need for it, understanding there's families in their church that they're trying to meet, or they're finally learning, oh my gosh, we've got all these individuals with special needs and their families in our community, and they're not going to church anywhere. We've got to do something. So I'm really excited to see how God's starting to break down some of the doors at churches all over the country with it. So just want to share that encouragement with everyone.
Thank you, Doc. Appreciate it. Julie.
So Jennifer, I just wanted to tell you that you are going to absolutely love this group. But just from the little bit that you shared, I think we're going to be incredibly blessed by you. So if you're thinking that you might want to miss, we don't want you to be out there all by yourself, because we know that you've got stuff to give us as much as we have to give you. So I'm so glad that you're here today.
That seems like an awesome way to end for this month, don't you think? Yeah, we love each other. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. This has been a great chat as always. I'm looking forward to seeing a bunch of you in person this weekend in Atlanta and next month in Cleveland. But of course, always the first Monday of every month right here on our screens. So thank you everybody for participating today, and we will see you soon.